What's up, guys? My name is Shuya. I was a former internationally competitive foil fencer. I'm also a fencing coach as well. Today we're going to be doing a breakdown of two women's foilists, Lee Kiefer, and I'm terrible with last names, but I'm going to say Jessica Gao from Canada. The age difference between these two is pretty significant. Gao is a lot younger. So this is going to be an interesting kind of bout to see. But let's get right into it. So right off the bat there, right? Gao, too fast coming in, right? Arm back, really quick first step. Now you see Kiefer right there, right? She made that adjustment. She understood that Gao, literally the action before, even when there was no touch scored, you saw that Gao was kind of rushing in with her arm back, right? Kiefer is aware of that, jumped in the next time she saw that sign of her kind of rushing in and made that counterattack and got the touch. So that adaptation, super fast. So that position in line that Lee Kiefer was doing initially, right? People do it for different reasons. Sometimes you kind of just want to keep your defense saucy, right? You don't want to, just have your arm back all the time. It's good to kind of switch things up, but first off, it keeps your opponent at bay, right? It can make some people a little bit more uncomfortable. You have your arm out in front of you, right? You never on defense want your arm all the way back, right? It's just way harder for you to actually successfully take your parries. It gives your opponent more comfort coming at you with their attacks, right? So you kind of want your arm out, gives you some more options. You also have the option of hitting in line as well. So just different things that you can do with that. Kiefer straight out missed that touch. So now Gao, right, she's speeding up a moment faster. So instead of just charging in too close to her opponent, right, one adjustment you can make is, that she just did, right, is you can have the same speed and tempo of your attack and length of your attack, but just kind of start it a little bit earlier. It's not my suggestion necessarily to do that. I think it's much better just to, not just take your, I think just in general, you don't want to be making these really, really long attacks. Sometimes they land for different reasons, but generally you don't want to be attacking so far out. You just give your opponent so much time to actually react and do something about your attack. So just kind of getting in distance, right? And when you're in distance, only using your feet to the point where you're using it just enough to close out the distance that you need to finish out your attack. That's usually going to be the smartest thing to do. So Gao's getting away with a good amount of counterattacks here. It's working for her. I would still stay that course. Kiefer made that adjustment right there, right, where she's moving forward. And one thing that you can do if someone's counterattacking, a lot is just literally make your attack shorter. You just be more cautious, right? Counterattackers love it when the people who are coming after them, right, when their attackers are making these really, they lose sense of distance, they're rushing, they're not making the correct reads. Counterattackers are just waiting for those opportunities. So you saw Lee in that touch before, the last touch that she made, right? She was going a little bit slower, a little more cautious with her defense, which again, great adjustment. I've gotten this question a lot too, because Gao is a lefty and Kiefer is a righty. And there's especially with, you hear this a lot more with, you don't really hear this with, more experienced fencers because you just get used to it, after a while, but, and you know how to fence people if they're either righty or they're lefty. But for, a lot of times when younger fencers are asking, or, younger fencers' parents are asking me oh, this person was a lefty though, right? And, their kid is a righty. They're just oh, they just couldn't figure this thing out. They're just a lefty. It's just, it's a shame. Really with lefties, the strategy doesn't change. It's just like, it's not like if they're making a counterattack, if they're making parries, right, at these specific times, it's not like just because they're a lefty, you completely switch up what you're doing. It's just literally just a matter of like people not being used to fencing someone with their arm or the dominant arm on the other side of their body, right? So it is really important just to, at that point, it's really just a matter of just getting used to that difference, right? Getting used to the fact that like you're fencing someone whose body is shifted the opposite way, whose blade is, you know, a little bit closer to your arm. It's not diagonal to your arm, it's right in front of you. Your shoulder is a little bit closer, right? Things of that nature. It throws people off a little bit, but it's just a matter of like reps. Like if you're struggling with fencing lefties and you're ready, like you just have to fence as many lefties as you can in practice. It just goes away after a while, you know. If a lefty likes making parry 4 and a righty or if a lefty likes making parry 4, and a righty likes making parry 4, right? The big solution is like make a feint disengage around parry 4, right? Like yes, you're moving in the opposite direction instead of going, counterclockwise with your disengage against a righty who's making parry 4. You're going counterclockwise with a lefty when they make parry 4. It's like, yeah, you're going the opposite way, but these are all still things that you're practicing. You're still going counterclockwise when a righty fencer is making parry counter 6 or parry 6, right? So it's, how to do the movements, it's just that you're not used to the physical changes in front of you of your target. All right, so we got 41 more seconds left in this first round. Score is 7-6 Kiefer. That was a great attack by Gao. Didn't make her attack too long, and she was in the perfect distance for that attack, which was great. That was a close call. First glance, I thought it was Gao's, but I mean, I need to see a replay of that. I'll just call it simultaneous, okay? Kiefer's touch. Great touch. And you see Kiefer reading that distance, right? She goes forward. She's not like just charging in. She takes her step, right? She sped up. She slowed down to make sure the distance is exactly how she wants it. And then when she saw the opportunity, you can go for it. Just because you start speeding up with your attack doesn't mean that like you can't slow down. You can always like adjust your speed with your attacks, and you should. It helps to throw off, the defender's rhythm. It helps to, make your attacks a little more unpredictable, going at different speeds. Just changing up your attacks in general, So a lot of people just will start speeding up, and then they just like, they're so far away that they can afford to slow down and readjust their attack, but they don't do that necessarily, right? Gao's getting away with a lot of counterattacks and remises. And from, I haven't seen Kiefer fence that much, but, it's interesting to see, right? Because, like, Kiefer gets a lot of her touches, from what I've seen at least, through counterattacks, through remises, just, like, twisting her body in all these different ways to kind of maneuver around her opponent's blade, So it's interesting to see how someone who's so good at that is fencing someone who does the exact same stuff as them, so... Nice. Gao's taking her time, right? You see the patience in the attacks right here, right? No, was patient with her attacks. Gao right there was being patient with her attack, getting the blade. She like does an action, see how her opponent reacts, and then she reacts accordingly based on her opponent, right? So it's setting it up, see what your opponent's gonna do, make the correct read, and execute. So you see there's like beat the blade or fast advance forward. You see what your opponent does, you made the correct adjustment going forward, right? So this is excellent attacking for both ends. That I think Kiefer just got caught off guard. I think she kind of just like didn't expect it, hit and go. You know, not obviously not the best strategy in that situation, but Kiefer's missing a lot of these touches. She's like in distance, but I mean she's had to have missed like 5+ touches where she was in distance, her point was right there, but just missed. That was Kiefer's. That was definitely Kiefer's. But you see, so if you get in this position where you're just missing a bunch of these touches, right? The last thing you want to do, so there's different strategies for it, right? Like generally, okay, yeah, okay. So, but there's different strategies for it, right? I think one is just simply just taking your time, making smaller actions, right, and just literally focusing up on your attacks a little bit more, right? Getting a little more just mentally being a little bit more precise because you have the technique. Usually for a lot of people, especially with Kiefer at her level, right? Definitely has the technique to actually land these touches. It's just, you know, it's a little more like it's just, what am I trying to say? Like, she definitely has a technique to do it, right? So a lot of times also just like it's just a mental shift that you have to make of just like, all right, let me take a deep breath, let me actually slow down, and you know, be careful of where I'm placing my point, be very intentional with it. But you also don't want to get to the point where you're so like on edge or just like, oh my God, this person's such a small target and I keep missing. And you start thinking about that and spiraling, and then you stop focusing on, you know, actually landing your attacks, right? So one thing is you can keep things smaller. You can also go for traps as well. There's a lot of different options that you can do. But Kiefer has a technique to land these touches. It's just, you know, she needs to just, yeah, she just needs to land them. Like, she has the technique to do it. So if I'm Kiefer, right? I need 5 touches, right? I need 5 touches to advance to the next round. My opponent can't score at all. I have to treat every single point like it's 0-0. I can't get in my head, right? It's good, like lock in, obviously, stay focused, have your game plan going forward and execute, make the proper reads and execute. But I'm not gonna be in my head being like, oh my God, I can't let her score, you know? I think a lot of times, especially when you're just missing touches, you can kind of just get in your head and just be like all antsy just about like, oh, like I can't let her hit me and what if I miss this? The more they think about that stuff, the less likely it is you're actually gonna make the comeback. Right there, right? Like Kiefer is just like, she has the distance. She's missed so many times. Gao has, you know, counterattacked over and over and over and over again. And if it's working, absolutely continue to do that, right? But, you know, it is a very frustrating thing that like a lot of fencers I know, and a lot of young fencers feel when, you know, they're just like, oh, but you know, this person's just such a small target and they're just counterattacking and remising all the time. You're just like, well, how are they just making these touches? Well, like, first off, regardless of what you think, they're making the touches, right? So it's like, they got to keep doing what they're doing. It's working, you know? It's totally fair game. But as someone who is attacking and missing these touches, right? Like, you have to go back and practice just over and over and over again these touches that you're missing, right? The smaller the target, the better. And again, with lefty fencers, not that it's an excuse that you're fencing a lefty fencer, but you know, lefty fencers fence righty fencers all the time. Like lefty fencers don't have a problem. I'm just generally speaking here, obviously, but just like they generally don't have a problem with fencing righty fencers because like most of the people that they're fencing are going to be righties, right? Where righties fencing lefties are just less lefties, right? So they don't have as much practice. So fencing a lefty can kind of throw them off a bit. It's just, if you're someone who's struggling with just like getting touches against lefty fencers, you have to just fence lefties so much to the point where you prefer fencing lefties than righties, right? Like when I started fencing, it was literally like that. Like, why? Like, I just get so frustrated because I'm like, how do I fence this person? Like, the target is on the completely, everything is the opposite, right? Everything is flipped, it's mirrored. But over time, it's like, my coach used to give me lessons lefty all the time. He was a lefty. And I just, we do these private lessons over and over and over again with him as a lefty. And it's just repetition, right? It's the same reason why like lefties don't have problems fencing righties. It's because they fence them all the time, right? So if you're struggling with hitting lefties, right, you need to keep practicing. You have to keep practicing with as many lefties as you possibly can in order to get, and so you kind of get that like gunk out of your head and being like, you know what, actually, whether you're a righty or a lefty, it does not matter at all. It's just reps at the end of the day. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's any other videos that you guys want me to kind of focus in on, do some analyses of. I'd love to hear you guys' comments. Other than that, I'll see you guys later. All right, peace.